Hi folks, how you doing and welcome to my channel. So, the idea for this video came this weekend when I was reading this book, The Familiars by Stacey Halls. And I got this from Barter Books a couple of years ago, was it? No, not this Christmas, Christmas before we went to Northumberland, and I got it from Barter Books in Alnwick. And I've had it on my shelf a while and I got to it. And it absolutely blew me away because it's based on the Pendle witch case in Lancashire. And I knew a bit about the Pendle witches, and I knew a bit about Lancashire and the connection and everything. But this book just got me on so many levels. It was one of those you could like literally gallop through it in 2 days. Which is rare for me for a book. I like to take my time with books and go through it at a nice steady pace. And I thought, oh, I'd like to channel one of them, or I'd like to do a reading looking at this case because it's a fascinating case. But I just got the feeling that that wasn't what I needed to be doing at this time. But I wanted to do something, a video about it. And then I was reminded of my own psychic journey, and then I was reminded of the video that I've just done that many of you loved, and it's also brought new people into the channel. And many of you said that there isn't anything out there like that, where people are talking about the other side of being a psychic and what we don't see on camera, etc. And I thought, actually, I'm going to follow on from that video with this video, because this is my journey as a psychic from start to where we are now, including connections to the Pendle witches, of which I will come on to. But before we get there, it made me realise in the spiritual community you hear a lot of, oh God, our rights are being taken, yada yada yada. They are doing this to us, they are doing that, you can't speak your truth, you can't do this. And I thought, imagine if you got a chance to sit with the Pendle witches. Just imagine it. And you got to sit with those women that were hung, that were tortured. And if they were able to have a look into our lives now, as psychics, healers, mystics, seers, soothsayers, whatever you want to call it, the fact that we can go on to YouTube channels and talk about things, the fact that I can go on to do a royal reading. I mean, years ago, when these ladies were alive, if you'd have even gone within an inch of the King James with a box of tarot cards, that'd have been game over. The fact that we can openly have websites, the fact that we can talk amongst our communities, shows just how far we have come, and I think that needs to be celebrated. And the fact that more and more people are feeling confident enough to step into their journey. And the book got me. By the way, to see a full review of this book, which I will be doing in February, please make sure you are subscribed to our new YouTube channel, our other YouTube channel, which is called The Thackeray's, which is where you'll be able to find vlogs, holiday vlogs, days out, other aspects of me and other passions of mine, and reading stuff. All the links to that is below in the description, the pinned comment. I've done so much thinking of this weekend in relation to this. So, my connection to the Pendle witch. No, I'm not related to them, but you never know. In fact, the weird thing is, one of the people that gave evidence was called Booth, which is my maiden name. And my bloodline originates, some of it from Halifax and around that area, so Dewsbury and all of that. And when I read that, I thought, well, that's strange, isn't it? It's really strange. But anyway, I don't know if I am related. Possibly by some stretch I am. I'm going to start at the beginning. So, I'm going to start at the beginning. So I come from a line of psychics on both sides, so maternal and paternal. So, on my mother's side, mummy's psychic, her mother was psychic, her father was psychic, and it goes back as well. There's other stories from other relatives that have stories to tell about. I mean, there was a story where one of my ancestors saw some angels float up the steps, and then she saw them fly back down again with dead baby. So that's the story. Then on my dad's side, my dad has got a spooky third eye as well. Doesn't use it as much as me, never used it as much as my mum, but he's got it. My uncle had it and he had something dark as well. He was something else entirely. He had some weird experiences in it. You know, it's depending on how you use it, to light or to dark. Well, I have no connection to him now. I've not seen him since I was a child. But he went through some weird things, but you know, all of it weaves into one. My dad's mum also has it. She woke up on the morning of, you know, the Aberfan disaster, and she was choking and felt like she was smothered in dust. And yeah, obviously that day the Aberfan started. We know the Aberfan disaster was when a huge pile of coal and coal dust ran into a school in Wales and killed the children, the teachers, caused absolute devastation. I've had similar experiences with similar things that have happened, like Grenfell Tower. I woke up and I've shared to you all that I woke up on the morning of Grenfell Tower burning, and I had dreams all night of a fire and that I was in a fire burning, and it was that intense and that realistic that when I woke up and my phone flashed, it was like fire. It was a bizarre day. So I've had similar experiences. And I can sense when things are coming, big things are coming, and I get a really uneasy feeling about it. So apparently the story goes that I was first talking to spirit rather than humans. So there's a story where I was a baby and I was stood up in my cot talking as a baby. So we know that babies can't talk, but as a baby Claire was talking to invisible people that nobody else could see. There's also a story where we once went to a park and I was coming down the slide and I saw my granddad at the bottom, and he says, go tell your nana that I love her. And I went over and said it, and what I didn't know was at the park that we were at, he actually proposed to her just before the Second World War. And I never knew. That was only about, I'd only been about a little girl really, to be quite honest, 7 or 8 years old. So you can't make that up. And I was constantly getting messages, and I went to a stage of not taking medication because Grandad would come and make me better, or angels would come and make me better. And they struggled to get medication down me. And actually I went to a stage of, I was quite right, people would come and make me better. And then as I got older, I started to move away from it. I started to deny it and move away from it. I got into friends and working and all kinds of heartbreaks and all of that. I still had the third eye, and I would still do the odd sneaky reading for someone, and people would come to me and say, I'm going to pass this exam, Claire, and I'd be able to tell them all sorts. Then I went and did some Reiki training, but I never really took it further. It was just a vanity project. And then I went through lots of trauma and all that kind of stuff, as you do. And then I left my job, and I was going to go and retrain in makeup and nails. And then gradually it started to change. I went and did courses on nails and makeup and all of that. And I was all for it. But then readings started to creep in, and then Reiki started to creep in, and then shamanism started to creep in. Set up another business, Mystical Garden. It was a day spa. Pandemic came in and changed that. And I've told that story a lot on this channel, so I won't revisit it. And gradually over time, I've been swayed from the path that I went on as a dental nurse onto this path now. But I've just missed a whole chunk out. Typical Claire, the chunk that is actually quite important to this video. When would it have been? So we're talking about 2008 till about 2011, 12, I got really into Most Haunted. And I got really into ghost hunts, which ghost hunts, if you're not aware of it, where you go into big buildings or old buildings and You do ghost hunts, Ouija boards, table tipping, glasswork, all that spooky stuff, and you see things, and yes, it's the real deal. And I started to do them in a local house to me, which was called Temple Newsham House, which was very near to me. It was also the birthplace of Lord Darnley, who married Mary Queen of Scots, which it blew my mind, did that anyway. What a lot of history on your doorstep was that huge house. And I think I did about 3 there. And I loved them. I loved it. You know, they'd start at, what was it, 7:30, 8 o'clock and go on until 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. And I wasn't there as a psychic. I was just there. I knew I was a psychic, but I wasn't the psychic that was there. I was just somebody that had paid money and gone there to see what it was all about. And itchy nose. I loved them. We did table tipping, we did glasswork, we did Ouija boards. So many things came through that was just crazy. And I saw possession there as well. I saw a couple of people becoming possessed, which wasn't a fun thing to see. And then I got drawn to the Pendle witches. And there was another ghost hunt at Pendle. So you went to Pendle and you walked up Pendle Hill. Came back down, and then we stayed in a barn in Pendle, and it was a weird company. It was a hot day, and I remember that the organisers came in late, and they were really up their own arses. And they walked us over to Pendle Hill, and it was a right trek. It was blistering heat, and they were especially the female woman that owned it, that ran it. Oh, she was shocking. And she basically march. There was no ambience or anything, no history, nothing. She was late and she knew it. And I just got to a stage, I thought, I'm not walking up. It was too hot. I was tired. I couldn't enjoy it. The energy was awful. And I just said, oh, I'm not doing it. And another woman said, I'm not doing it either. And she was a lot older than me then. And we sat at the bottom of the hill, and now we just sat there like you do, chilling. And she started to talk to someone, and I was like looking at her, and I was like, who's she talking to? And she said, she realised that it was just the norm to her to talk like that, to talk to herself. And basically one of her guides, she was a white witch, and one of her guides was one of the Pendle witches. And she said, I'm talking to one of the Pendle witches. I've come to Pendle, obviously, to make homage to her, and I hope I've not offended you. I said, oh no, I was fascinated. I was like, oh, wow, fascinated. And she told me, and this is a lesson for everyone, that, can you remember the episode where Yvette Fielding went for one of the Pendle witches? She literally called her all sorts of names. I won't repeat it on camera, but she used foul words, and by the way, I no longer watch any of that stuff now. I don't entertain it, and I don't do ghost hunts. And she said, well, you know that Yvette attacked one of the Pendle witches in a seance she did. Well, she said, one of the witches from the other side, the witch that was her guide, and I look back and I think she can't have been much a guide, she must have been a dark guide. And was this woman actually a white witch or a dark witch as I'm talking about it? Because she said that a curse had been placed on Yvette from one of the witches that had passed over. And after that, you know, and I was like, I was fascinated. She said, just watch. She said, watch what's going to happen. And I was like, okay, I will. What's it called? Stopped. Most haunted, it stopped. She had loads of health complaints, all kinds of things. There was all stuff came up about Danica Kara and the team and all. It was just one thing after another. In fact, I think they're starting to get back together again, maybe a stage show, but anyway. And fascinating woman, to be honest, and it is what it is. We went back and it was a weird team of people that were putting this together. So we went back to the barn, and they were all doing, I don't even think there was a clairvoyant there, you know, which is again is a red flag, because a clairvoyant should be there, at least to give some semblance of protection. But there was no clairvoyant, not that I can remember. And we all started doing Ouija boards and table tipping and all of that kind of stuff, and I was put in charge of one. I had no idea what I was doing, a game which is stupid. And I got to a stage where I couldn't sleep and I couldn't settle in this barn and I couldn't settle amongst the energies. And me and another woman, and this was a different woman to the woman that I was sat with at the bottom of the hill, we just stayed up. We went outside, we got some hot drinks, we put us duvets round us and we just sat and looked over Pendle and watched the sun come up and just chatted. And then another ghost hunt I did, I worked with Richard Felix. You know Richard Felix? My UK people may know about Richard Felix. He's a historian that is into ghosts and the supernatural. And he was on Most Haunted, and he has said that some of it was true and some of it was played with on that programme. He said it's impossible that all that stuff goes on in one programme. And he'd stepped away from them and started doing his own kind of work on his own terms. And I remember once doing a glass session. So it's where you put the glass on the table like that. And we put yes and no on it. And we actually did a seance with King James I of England, is it? Or 5th of Scotland. It was the King of Scotland, and it was Mary Queen of Scots' son that then came down to England to rule England and Scotland when Elizabeth I died. And I have never, ever done a seance like it. It was nuts. And the glass, the answers, the energy, there was nothing sinister about it. It was, honestly, you could just feel it. And Richard was so excited. I was so excited. Everyone was so excited. And the thing is, I didn't know what path I was going to walk on then. Richard was already walking on his path. So there was that energy behind me as well that I had no idea was already there. And it was just like, boom. It was unbelievable. And because obviously we're in Temple Newsham, which was his dad's ancestral home, it was amazing. And I was just thinking about that the other day. Well, when I was reading this book, I thought, how ironic. The king that ran after witches and killed them comes through in a seance with 2 witches. Because Richard Felix would have been classed as a witch. Do you know what I mean? You had any kind of dabbling, you were classed as a witch. I mean, to some people, you even said no to your husband, you were classed as a witch. And it just got me, the fact that, again, that we have these earthly titles and these earthly roles, but then when we go over, the game changes. It's fascinating. And then the next, then I used to go to spiritualist churches and all of that. On a Sunday, I'd go to a couple in Leeds City Centre. And I didn't really gel with the spiritualist church. I don't gel with any of that kind of stuff. I remember once going to see Stephen Holbrook, and it was just after my friend had died. And a message came through from her, but it got stolen. And again, that put me off because you could feel the desperation of this woman. She just needed anything. To a point, she'd stolen. You could tell that Stephen knew that it wasn't for her, and but I was so young then, and I wouldn't even dream. I mean, the room was packed, and you could just know as a psychic, and he knew that wasn't for her. And the weird thing is, he kept looking towards me, and I was just too young. I was just too young I would now. I'd step up and claim it, but I was just too young. And I don't really gel with that kind of stuff, and especially with the shamanic work I do, because shamans, and I'm not a shaman, but the shamanic thing, the shaman, the shamanic practitioner, they don't believe in that kind of a thing. They believe in communing with the spirits because there's a lot to learn from spirit, but they don't believe in that. Like don't believe in Ouija boards. They don't like all the table tipping, the ghost hunt energy. All that had to go when I did this path, and I don't miss it, and I won't do it, and I won't go there again. And if it comes up in sessions, I always recommend that clients don't do it, because you can pick up a lot of crazy stuff. I mean, doing those ghost hunts taught me a lot. There's always 2 sides to the story. And I actually saw my first physical ghost as an adult there, and I saw a woman walking up and down with my physical eyes, and I actually didn't say anything. And because when I did it at the Temple Newsham one, they used to have a historian there at Temple Newsham and a psychic, and the psychic would give their stuff and then the historian would give the story of the room. And he actually said, did the historian, that a ghost had been seen walking through that room. And I was like, yeah, because I saw it. You could see her pacing. So yeah, So the next spooky tale is this. It's not a spooky tale. It was well before I came on YouTube. So I walked into this room, you know, like in security centres or security offices where they have all these different tellies up and you can see like the streets of the city on these telly screens. Well, I walked into a room and there was all these different tellies there, TVs. And rather than being security TVs, all these TVs, I was on it like I am now in this square box. But I had different hair, different makeup on, different tops, everything. And I'm like, what the hell? And watching it is Derek Okora. And this was when he died. This was when he died, or he just died. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And he saw me come in and he stood up and he said, wow, aren't you lucky having all of this? And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what is he on about? And he said, I wish they'd had YouTube and Instagram when he started, because he had to work the scene. So doing what he did, going into rooms and communing with the dead, he said it would have been a much nicer place, a much nicer way, to go and get involved in this kind of psychic work than working men's clubs and doing all that day in, night out, night out, night out, night out, day in, day out, day in, you know, night and day, and working like a singer does. And I was like, what are you on about? And he said, look. And I just looked, and I looked at him and they disappeared. And I woke up and I was like, that was the strangest dream ever. What was he trying to tell me? Back then, I had a fear of talking on camera, fear of my own voice, hated the thought of speaking, hated the sound of my voice, everything. It's only when afterwards I was like, that's what he was trying to tell me. That I was going to come onto Facebook, not Facebook, but come onto YouTube. Because he actually used to do a lot on Facebook, because he used to do lives then towards the end of his life. I mean, I know people have had a go at Derek Okora, but the thing is, as a psychic, you walk a very vulnerable path as a psychic. There are so many people out there that are trying to trick you and trying to bring you down, that it's not actually hard. If someone's vindictive enough to do it, it's not a hard job. And as a psychic or a medium, you are vulnerable. You are vulnerable, and psychic attack is real, manipulation is real. And this can happen with clients, it can happen with watchers, it can happen with your fan base, it can happen with the naysayers. I mean, look what happened to the witches. And there's always different tales. There's always different tales and a different side to the story. And I think every psychic, that's not every psychic, but I think when we see big things like that with Derek Okora, where they kind of was he a set up? Was it? I don't know. There's a lot to that story though, about did he get set up? Was he not set up? Did they have doubts about him? But I mean, when you go into a show like that, you get run by a TV company, and they want that from you. They want that from you, and if you've not got a good grounding, and if you're naive, or it can be very easy to get swept up in it. Like me, I'm in charge of me. There's nobody telling me, come on, pushing me. And there's nobody around me for me to get wrapped up into, because it's very easy to get swept up in energy and swept up in other people's drama and other people's stuff. I've got none of that. But Derek had that with other people, so I'm not making an excuse for him, but well, as we're talking about this, let's come into the witch wound that affects anyone, even people that are psychic or healers that are coming under attack or doubt or having to deal with the naysayers, and people that are attacking or doubting. That is also the witch wound, because the witch wound, again, it's like the father and mother wound, is a much more deeper subject than it's been portrayed to be. Have I spoken about this in camera? Did we discuss this in the last video where I said I don't think our psychic abilities have really started to come online yet? I think we're going to get more psychic, we're going to get more intuitive, we're going to get more, and that's why the physical body is going through the process that it is. I'm seeing it in myself. In fact, I've just had to take 2 days off I've used the week, I mean, it's the weekend and so it's my 2 days off, but usually I'd have been like, let's do a video, or Gary, let's do a vlog, or spending some time on social media, but I've had to down tools because the upgrades that we're all getting at the minute are so intense, and having to rebalance and recalibrate and recalibrate your stuff is a big thing at this time. So where were we? We were talking about, yeah, I think our psychic abilities are really coming back on grid. And I think if you monitor your own abilities, you'll probably realise that you're getting more intuitive and more, you're able to see more. And one of the things I can say to you at this point is heal your heart. Heal your heart. Because it's quite easy as a psychic to start picking up the dregs of stuff. And you were seeing that in a lot of sections of the community. And I've been there and I've done that and I've put my hand up to it and it's made me ill in the past. Where the truth is, I'm trying to find a better way of describing it. The truth is, a story is out there, a story that somebody places out there either via the mouth or intent or whatever is out there. So when you start to go into a situation, you can start to think you're seeing something and you're totally stand by it. Yeah, I can see it, I can feel it, I can sense it. But you can't sense it, you can sense the story. And that can be a real, it can really be a game changer, but not in a good way, if that makes sense. So cleaning your lens. So I talk about the lens as being the third eye. Cleaning, because if you look out, if you're the type of person like I have been in the past, where there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of doom and gloom, you're waiting for craziness to happen, you're aware of craziness happening, you'll see it everywhere. Because the truth is, if you're willing to, you'll see darkness in everyone. Even the most kindest person on the planet, you will see darkness in. So if you're starting on your psychic journey, it's really important to be careful what rabbit holes you get dragged down. And how your body processes information is a really big thing. One of the things that's helped me is my husband, Gary, because he's so grounded and he's got a scientific mind, which has actually helped me to become better. You might think, what? Living with a scientist helps you to become better? But it actually does. Because it can be so easy, and I see this a lot, whoa, and people go off. They go off on one and they're, whoa. And it's almost like it gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And part of being a good psychic is to be able to ground. We're seeing it a lot. We're seeing it a lot at the minute, and it's, I'm trying to describe it. You find yourself looking and you're going, what are they saying? What are they doing? And it's almost like, is it exaggeration? It's very ungrounded. It's very ungrounded. It's very interfered with. It's very interfered with. And this is why being grounded, remembering that you're of the earth, that you are on the earthly plane, that you are a human being, is really helpful. Like people say to me, how do you ground? I clean, I wash, I do dishes, I do all of earthly things. You know, even watching telly can be grounding. Just to go put a nice documentary on that can be grounding. There's a lot of misinformation out there at the minute. There's a lot of, and misinformation can come in many different forms. And never before have we had to decipher what we've had to decipher and go through. And misinformation can come in on any platform at any time. By anyone at any time. Even people in your own life can give out misinformation. Family members, friends, work colleagues, bosses. Misinformation isn't just something that you just hear about. It's very complex. We can also give ourselves misinformation to make us feel good, to pacify ourselves as the blanket. We're great at giving ourselves misinformation. The journey of the psychic is, or the mystic, or the soothsayer, or the healer, or whatever you want to call yourself, a medium, a channeler, can be a painful one. It's a painful path if you do it properly. It can be really painful. It can be really scary at first as well. You start to see things and feel things that nobody else can. You can start to feel things and see things that you've never felt before. You can come under great attack. See, I was lucky I never came under attack by a family because it was the norm. As a little girl, I was passed jewellery and told to do psychometry. Do you know what I mean? I grew up with my mum doing crystal ball stuff. She predicted Dinah's death before it was fashionable to do a raw reading. And there was no YouTube. She used to have a friend called Edna, who was a lot older lady. And they used to work with her. She was on Teal, some other Shipton. And they used to do all kinds of work doing that, doing predictions. And they predicted when Diana died, even before. I mean, this is the 90s, so YouTube wasn't even around then. And she wrote it all in a pad. So it's a lifetime's work, and it's not something to be played with. It's not something to be played with. It's not something to laugh at and to disrespect. I'm always mindful when I'm out and about what I tell people I do. And this actually can trigger people because, well, you should be loud and proud of what you do, Claire. Actually, no. Because it's like something I remember when we went to get our car, and they always want to know what you do as a job. And I said, I always say holistic therapist, which is actually quite true. It's quite true. And they'll say, oh, like what, do you know, gala Reiki and stuff like that? And I just play it right down because you don't know where someone's at on their journey. You don't know where someone's at. Also, as well, what you'll get is, oh, can you look into my energy field? You'll be surprised at the amount of people that will start latching on and start trying to get you into a reading mode. And it's very easy to do that. I remember once, I used to go to a crystal shop in Morley, Cairo. A lot of you from Leeds and Morley, West Yorkshire, will know Cairo. Was it Debbie that owns it? She did used to own it. I don't know if it's still there now. And I got quite friendly with her. I used to go in quite regular, and I remember I just started up Mystical Garden, which I did massage, and I did readings then, and I said, oh, she's how you find it? I said, oh, I don't know. And I said I was doing a massage on someone, and I said it was weird. She started talking about a dead father and asking questions, and before I knew it, I'd opened up into a reading. And she said, never, ever, 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 ever let anyone do that to you again. She said, you will have clients that will come. If they're coming for a facial, they're coming for a facial. Don't let them start talking to you about psych. And she actually was quite strict. Because what happens is you start opening up for a reading, you start getting information, and you don't know what to do with it. And they get a free reading out of you. And then word goes round, you become quite vulnerable. She said, you've got to have boundaries. If you're doing a facial, they're coming in for a facial. If they want to have, oh, your readings you have seen on your website. Yeah, there's my prices, book you. Don't get drawn. And this is for you as well. Don't let people draw you. Because what you have is a skill, just like my accountant has a skill, just like my hairdresser has a skill. You won't dream of going to your accountant, well, you won't if you were a sensible person, and start trying to get financial advice out of him. You won't dream of going to your hairdresser and trying to get a free haircut. And people get triggered. I'm going to come to costing for psychics as well in a bit. Don't let people draw you on it. So that's why I keep it private. I don't, because I remember going into my hairdresser and she said, oh God. She said, I actually can't believe it, Claire, that you've not actually told everyone that you're a psychic. She said, they used to have someone that went there years ago that was a psychic, and she came in and she used to sit there and tell everyone she was a psychic. I hate this, by the way. Do you know, when people start like that, I zone out, and it's the game over in my eyes. I'm this, I'm that, I'm fifth line intuitive psychic. Oh God, I'm gone. I'm gone at that stage. It's like game over, because actually, back to that story, zip it, Claire, back to that story. And she actually said she scared people, because she'd come in and say, oh, I can sense your dad, and oh, your mum's here, and you know, your ma, and really being inappropriate in the hairdressers. And she said it just freaked people out. And I said, well, that's why I don't, because you can get people that will try and draw you on it, or you get people that can be quite uncomfortable by it. And when I'm going for my hair cutting, I'm going for my hair cutting. I'm not going in there to talk about spirit. I'm not going in there to talk about awakening or anything like that. You know, when I'm going anywhere, when I'm going shopping, I'm shopping. And I get very, if somehow it does come out, and I start to get drawn out, I will shut down on someone and I just won't play. I just will not play. And I'll go very, very, very quiet and very silent, because I've seen psychics that do that and it's just cringe, and where they tell you everything, their titles and everything, what they do, what they, you know, it's like, it's really ego, and it's not authentic. It's not authentic. It's almost like a jungle drum energy. And people get pissed with it. And actually it doesn't look good. Because if you think about it, take it back to my accountant. If my accountant came in and sat in your hairdresser and started going into your financials, you'd feel exposed, wouldn't you? You'd feel quite vulnerable. Say if your accountant had access to everyone's accounts, do you know what I mean? Right? Or say if your hairdresser or your doctor comes in, but doctors can have access to all your medical stuff, and they started talking about all your medical things that were going wrong, you'd feel quite vulnerable. So it's the same with psychics. So psychics, I do think, especially ones that are shouting it from the rooftops, it's not a clever thing to do. Also as well, if you're around people that have things on them, entities and stuff, you make yourself aware. You actually go, hello, pulse, 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 I'm here. So it's all about going under the radar, because actually being authentic, you don't need to shout it from the rooftops. Like if you stand in your truth, you don't need to speak your truth. You don't need to ram your truth down someone's throat if you stand in your truth. There's a big difference. You will find people that need to constantly speak their truth and not standing in their truth. So, yeah. So, payments for psychics, yes, they should be paid. The whole energy of, if they're a psychic, they don't take money off you, is a pack of BS. And again, that comes from the witch wound. That comes from an attack on the psychics, witches, that kind of thing. If somebody is a proper psychic or a proper healer, they cannot work in mainstream. I'll say that again. If somebody is an authentic, proper, real psychic, healer, whatever, you cannot work in mainstream. And if you do work in mainstream, you can't work in mainstream for long. You're not going to have a long-term career, because you can't. You can't. It's like, now I couldn't go back into the workplace. I couldn't do it. If I, for some reason, decided, because who knows what's around the corner, and thought, actually, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I've had enough of it. I'd have to look at something else, self-employment-wise. I couldn't go work back where I was, or back into the mainstream, as it is now, as the world is now. So psychics should be paid, good psychics. And again, that's finding out the good psychics. So always, and I remember being in trouble for this myself when I started to set my business up, and the shaman that helped me do it went pop with me because I'd put my prices too low. And she said, number one, you'll piss your competitors off, and it causes bad energy if you start undercutting people, which it does. And number two, it's about value. And I didn't understand this at the time. It was like, what? And it's taken me years to understand that. I used to have clients coming to me and saying, I'm coming to you because you're cheap. I mean, not anymore. Anyway, just not anymore. It just doesn't happen, because my price is what I feel I'm worth. Be mindful of that. Even if, say if somebody, there should always be an exchange. So say if somebody does have financial difficulties and they come to you and they say, I don't know, can you read me some cards? Then what can they bring to the table? So do they make a nice cake? Can they bring you some flowers? Can they come and clean a room for you? So always making sure you got an exchange. And early doors, always making sure if you're setting up your business, they give you a review, or they pay you £5, or a charity of your choice, or if it's you and a friend, like I used to do this, where you'd give each other readings, energy exchanges. Never, ever, 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 ever start giving away your gift for free, because you will be used and abused. You will also never grow your business. You'll end up ill. You'll hate what you're doing, and you won't go any further, because you're not valuing yourself. And again, we are a craft. We are a craft and we are a gift in our own right. So why should, again, your hairdresser be getting paid hundreds of pounds to cut your hair? Why should your accountant be getting hundreds of pounds to look at your finances? Why should your wedding cake woman get hundreds of pounds to make you a wedding cake? Why is every other modality of business or gift, because you have to have a gift to be a cake maker. You have to have a gift to be able to do numbers. You have to have a gift to be able to do hair and makeup. Why are we underselling ourselves? Because actually, by taking these backhanded little payments, and I'll do it for free, you know, cross my palm with silver and all of that, we're actually, every time we play in that, we're actually playing in the people that try to bring us down. You're actually encouraging it, because you're saying, actually, I'm not good enough to, I am just a psychic, you know, just pay me what you feel I'm worth. Oh, no. There's a lot of people out there that will take advantage, and I'm quite passionate about this. I never thought I would be. But there's a lot of people out there that will bleed you dry. They will, honestly. And especially as we are now, there's a lot of taking going on. And this is because people are in pain, they're wounded, but they're taking. And a lot of people are taking at the minute, and you've got to respect you. You've got to respect you, because no one else is going to respect you. You've got to respect your craft, because nobody else is going to respect your craft. Nobody else is going to respect it. Even other healers and seers probably won't even respect your craft, the truth be told. So you've got to invest in yourself. You've got to invest in yourself. You've got to invest in a good website. Get a good, I use Health Hosts, which is a fantastic company. They look after people like me. They look after holistic therapists, well-being. So Health Hosts are brilliant. And they have a tiered system. I'll put the details below in this description. In fact, I'll write that down because I'll forget. I'll still forget that. Yeah, you know, come on, we've got to rise now. We've got to rise and stop. You think about it, what you just step back from it in a minute, because people still get triggered by this. You are going into someone's energy field. You're going into someone's gunk, into the trauma, into the pain, into the dis-ease. Why are you doing that for free? Why are you putting yourself in somebody's drama for free? But not only that, you're bringing something to the table that at the moment they cannot actually get there. They can't connect to their angels, the galactics, the guides. They can't see the way out. So why should that not be valued? Why should that not be valued? And there's some big things that many people on this path have to work through. And one of them, the big one, is value. And I've been there, done that, where you give out readings for 15, 20, 25 quid. And I remember doing it. I won't ever do it again. I'd rather leave and go work. I'd rather take my risk and go out and work in Sainsbury's or something, because honestly, that's how I feel. You leave those readings and you feel, you feel drained, you don't like it, you stop doing it, you can't take it to the next level. We live in an abundant universe. I remember watching a video, and I don't actually follow Phil God, but a video of his dropped on my lap a while ago, and he was talking about abundance, and it changed my life forever. I can't quote what he was saying word for word, but basically it was when we buy things and we go, I can't afford that. You see the t-shirt you want, or a jumper you want, or a hat you want, and you go, I can't afford that. And you go into, I can't afford that energy, rather than actually thinking, I can afford that, or I will afford that one day. And actually, every time we make an energy, and every time we make an exchange with someone, we're putting pulses out into the universe. So when you go out into the universe and you're just, because there's another extreme to this. Say if you're going out, you're just blatting money everywhere. You're going to show the universe you're just going to throw money at everything, so you will lose money. But say if you're going out into the universe and you're like, how much is that? You're trying to get your money back every 2 minutes, because there's people out there that will try to get their money back for anything. They'll think of any excuse. What happens is you give out to the universe that you come from a consciousness of lack. So you will get more and more lack. Yeah? So trying to get beyond that, trying to move beyond that is the best way. So say, for example, you go in and say there's a crystal course you want, and at that time it's a bit steep for you. You look at it, you'll say, one day that'll be mine. I'm going to save up for it. And I may miss this intake, but one day that course will come back again, either with that person or somebody else and I will get it. Or you really look at your finances and you find a way to do it. It's just, this is what I call alchemizing things, alchemizing situations. It's just changing your mindset. It's changing your reactions to things. So if you're watching this and you're struggling to get your psychic business going, why? Be honest with yourself. Why? Because there's a lot of the doubting Thomas isn't just in others, it's in ourselves. It really is. The worst doubting Thomas you will ever come across is in yourself. And that doubting Thomas will keep your prices low, it'll keep you low, it'll keep you off social media, it'll destroy you. And I think this is one of the things we're coming to alchemize as witches, to heal that, to be seen with other trades, to be seen with electricians, to be seen with your plumbers, to be seen with your woodcutters, joiners, not woodcutters, to be seen with your florist, because you are a valuable member of the community and you bring something to the table. So, what else are we going to talk about in relation to being psychic? What else should we talk about in relation to being psychic? How to deal with judgment. Itch your nose. How to deal with judgment. There's a lot. I'm not going to bullshit you. There's a lot of judgment out there at the minute, and there's also a lot of, I'm going to tell you what's what, which is crazy in itself as well. There's a lot of ego as well. Within the spiritual community, there's a lot of ego. People that will get a buzz out of making you feel insecure and you feel rubbish and you feel as though you're not doing the proper job. You can't change these people. You can't stop these people. You have to change your reaction to it. You really have to change your reaction to it. You're going to have clients that think you're rubbish. You're going to have someone that will come to your session with a sole intent of upsetting you. It exists. You will now and again have people that will come and they will want you to sort their lives out, and they will have lives that they can't even sort out. Well, if you're psychic, you should know that's not how being psychic works. It's not how being psychic works. We have to get over it. We have to get over it. You're going to have people mocking you and judging you and taking the mick out of you, but it's actually the making of you, not the breaking of you. And you will find, actually, the more that you rise in your authenticity and the more that you rise in your craft and the more you really practice your self-worth and the more that you're honest with yourself and transparent and accountable, the quicker you'll move through it and you'll be able to move on from it. If you already doubt yourself, how would you expect other people not to doubt you? There is a lot of injured, wounded people out there at the minute that the only way they feel they can gain their power back is by bringing you down. And take it away from psychicness, that these people are everywhere at the minute. And it's a sad fact of life at the minute. But it's also a fact of life that you must rise from and keep pushing through it. One of the things that the Pendle Witches saga shows us is, back then it was men's fear, it was men's insecurity. Now it's both men and women's insecurity. So I'm sorry, I'm tuning back into Pendle Witches because there's something else that wants to come through about the Pendle Witches. I'm feeling it was a two-way thing. Some of those women, and I think there was a man involved in it as well, but let's just say, call them women, they were witches. Let's, I'm not going to get into... Some of those women lost their way. Some of those women had lost their way. They'd been tempted into other streams, and society in itself had lost its way as well. Society had lost its way, and the powers that were at the time had lost its way. And there was a lot of fear around. But it feels like now is the time to clear it. Now is the time to clear it. And maybe, just maybe, that's why we're having to go through what we're going through in life. So much judgment and vitriolic behaviour and attacks is because we're having to purge it. We're having to purge it. You know, there's days that you think, oh, I can't do this anymore. I just can't stand it. I can't deal with this. It's too much. I'm leaving. I'm out. But actually, that's not the answer. That's not the answer. It really isn't the answer. The answer is to keep going forward, not pushing through, but walking through, floating through, gliding through. And I think as we go through all these shifts and changes, there's going to be tests. Now, when I say go into the dark side, I don't mean to go into doing spells and stuff, but you can use your craft for the dark without even realising you're doing it. Without even realising you're doing it. I'm going to give you an example. I did a reading just before Christmas, on a video reading. I'm not going to mention this person because it's such a controversial subject. People flip out. I did a reading on somebody, on a famous tarot reading, and this person got some really nice cards. And then my instant reaction in my gut was like, I'm going to get bounced for this. Because I know that there is a group of people out the minute on the internet that are flipping their lid over certain things. And I thought, if I put this out, I'm going to get ridiculed. And I put it out and I got ridiculed. And I got people saying stuff like, the very fact this person has got such nice cards causes me such torment. I know, disgusting. Disgusting reaction. And it's just happened again in another video that I've done where this same person got some positive cards and I was like, oh, shit. And it's like, actually, Claire, no, wait a minute. No, you're reading the cards. Those cards have come out for that person and they're bloody positive. So tell people that, because otherwise you're going to be like the rest of them. Because there are people out there at the minute that are purposely doing dark readings on a certain subject for the, it's all of that energy. And they're not proper readers at all, because proper readers don't do that. If you're reading on a subject, you're going to get a mixed bag. It's like any person on the world stage now, naming no names, if you do them on a regular basis, you're going to get a mixed bag of readings for them. That's normal. It's when you get in good, and bad for that. So that's my test that come in. There's all other different tests that can come in. Or a client does something bad to you, which can happen. There's some really spiteful people out there, and I'll speak my truth, I'm a northern lass. There's some quite spiteful people out there at the minute that will take great delight in doing horrible things to you, or saying horrible things to you, or threatening you. Honestly, it's crazy out there. But in that moment, you may, oh God, I'm going to go into an eye for an eye with this one. But actually, then you think, let them. Because, again, it's a test. And maybe this is what happened to the witches in respect. Maybe society was a dark time and maybe they were fearful and etc. And take it away from Pendle witches, anyone that's walked our path. You get tempted. You may not be I'm not talking about dark magic, I'm talking about temptation can come in very different forms. Even without you realising it can come in. So you're going to be constantly asked to check in with yourself. Are you really being your best authentic self in that? Was that really a great comment to put? Was that really a great session to do? Was that really a great email to send to someone? Was that really a great reaction? And this will be across your life as well, across the board. Looking after yourself during your psychic journeys, your healing journey, your healing path, to look after yourself. Like I've just taken the weekend to just rest and read books and watch nice things on telly, nice films. that kind of thing, nice things on YouTube, making sure that your downtime is a nice thing to do, that you go to the gym, that you go out into nature, that you rest, that there's a time when you switch your phone off, that you eat properly, that you drink enough water, that you say no when you need to. Because that's another thing as well. People get wind of you as being a psychic, your family members and healer. Sometimes your friends, and depending how big your circle is, they'll expect you to give those free readings. So looking after yourself and honouring yourself and respecting yourself and giving yourself time and patience to get through what you need to get through and to work through what you need to work through. And also knowing as well that psychics aren't always right. You can get misinformation. You can come across a pool of dredge that you think's real, and it's not. It's just a story that's out there in the universe that you've picked up on, which can make it really, really difficult. Be open to the fact that can happen. When people go, no, I'm a psychic, I've been a psychic for 20 years and I've never been wrong yet. Dangerous. Red flag. That's not right. That's not right, because you are only human. And a lot of the part of being the psychic is being able to put the pieces of stuff together. And sometimes you're only as good as the person that's sat in front of you. If you've got a client that's closed up, that's not wanting to share out, that's tricking you, that's got a bit of stuff going on, a bit of malevolence going on, I've had that. Your reading's going to be rubbish. Your reading's going to be rubbish. You're not going to get out. And what you do get out is just not worth it. I'm going to tune into these. I'm going to do it Pendle read. See what else wants to come through. What was Pendle Hill trying to teach us? What was the Pendle Witch investigation trying to teach us? What were the Pendle Witches trying to teach us? What were the Pendle Witches trying to teach us? The Sun. The Leap of Faith. An ending. A completion. It wouldn't surprise me, I don't know a lot about it, the Hermit, that if this wasn't the start of society turning against the people that were persecuting people for being a witch. Because anyone could be persecuted for being a witch. You know, your own husband could get you sent to the gallows. To embrace the light. To not give people the excuse of, I can't stand psychics, they're dark. To embrace the light, the leap of faith. To stand tall and proud with the light. Not because I do think some of them went into spell work. I get that feeling, which is one of the reasons why I was kept back from it a bit. Like that witch that I came across at the bottom of the hill. As I was saying the story to you, I was like, actually, no, that's not a good guide to have. If one of my guides came to me now and said, I'll tell you what, Claire, I put a curse on them last, I would, that to me is not a guide. That is actually something totally different. Moving away from the spell energy, moving away from the witch energy. Because actually just saying the word witch, what does it conjure up in you? Because the truth is, and where we're going to, everyone's got these abilities. Everyone's going to be getting these abilities. Everyone's going to be coming back on grid, slowly, slowly. Even people that don't even know they're psychic will think of someone before the phone rings and that person comes in. So completion, walking away from something. Also as well about how we view women and how we as women view our place in the world. A moment of deep contemplation. Three of Wands, the future. Do you know, as I'm tuning into it, it feels very time slippy, you know. It's weird. Because actually, if you look at the Pendle witches and, you know, think of Salem and all of that, all the other witch trials that have gone on, take away the hanging and all of that and throw it in rivers and burn at the stake. But you can take that and apply it to different parts of society today. You know, the pantomime baddie that we all need to have in our lives, the baddie at work, the baddie in the family, the baddie on the world stage. You know, the pantomime baddie that we can't even see it, we refuse to see anything good about them. So there's that energy coming up as well. something gentler. So if you're watching me and you've got your gift of your crystals, your cards, you're a clairvoyant, you're a medium, these cards are absolutely delicious. I'll say that again. These cards are absolutely delicious. Because what these cards say to me is this: use it wisely, use it with pride, use it with dignity, but use it. Because so many people have gone before you that died, so I can sit on this telly now and speak to you about tarot, that I can then go off onto my royal tarot and speak about royal readings, that I can go off and speak to clients and talk about shamanism and entities and curses and all of that. Many women and men have died for us to be able to do that. So do it. But do it with integrity. Do it with your own internal compass. And if you do it with your own internal compass, you'll go from strength to strength. Let's look at the path of the psychic. The path of the psychic in this modern world. The path of the psychic in this modern world. Gary's washing up now and I can hear him rattling. The path of the psychic in this modern world. The path of the psychic in this modern... Whoops. The Queen of Cups and the King of Cups. The divine feminine and the divine masculine. Being able to be both. Going back into gentleness. Using our abilities to bring peace and hope, and not throwing unicorns up people's bum, because actually sometimes that can be the kindest thing you can say, to do a reading and say, actually, the road that you're on now is going to lead to that. To go and say, no, actually, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know because I'm scared I'm going to lose you as a client. You will eventually lose them as a client. Because you'll lose yourself first. Okay, so then you'll lose your client. You won't just lose that client, you'll lose all your clients. So actually, God, yeah. What was the Pendle Witch cases really about? What was the Pendle Witch story really about? What was the core motivation behind it? Yeah. The divine, not the divine masculine, but the male damage, the male wound. It was males that brought them down. Not feeling good enough, loss. King James, ooh. Why did King James have such a thing against witches? Why did King James have such a thing against witches? Was that the mother wound? Was that the wife wound? Was that because there's rumours out there about his sexuality? Did something happen to him? Show me why. Show me the main reason why King James. I know which James it is in my head, so don't worry, James. King James had such an issue against witches. The burden. Inferiority complex. The family, close to home. Victory. Jealousy, because it was lacking in his life. Weird energy I'm picking up. Lacking in his own family life. Inferiority complex, not being able to be seen. He couldn't see past the end of his nose. He couldn't see past the end of his nose. The devil. So it made him angry. He couldn't embrace his divine feminine. Final card. Four of Cups and Nine of Cups. Going from this to this. Not wanting to see your gifts, not wanting to see what you bring to the table. Two, being able to go, this is what I bring to the table. This is exactly what I bring to the table. This is who I am. It's a completion. It's a full circle. Feeling to that, do you want to be that one where he doesn't want to receive anything, he's denying himself, or do you want to be that one? And this comes with time. He's a young lad. He's an older fella. So it comes with time and patience. Two of Pentacles, weighing up things, weighing up your life and coming back on grid as a healer, a seer, a psychic, a mystic, whatever you want to call yourself. So, I hope you've enjoyed that reading, video, chat. I'm enjoying it. I do like doing stuff like this. I do like it where it feels much more relaxed and more of a chat. So we've covered a lot of psychic grids there, a lot of psychic pathways. I will do more of this work. Thanks for watching. Love to all, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.